My family life was in Calgary before I moved to Toronto. My family life was me, my younger brother, my mom, and my dad. And every summer, we would take the ritual family trip out to the Okanagan, just take a road trip through the Rockies. Every year, it was a ritual. And we'd pile into the station wagon really early in the morning and hit the co-op for a tank of gas and get some comic books and just like hit the road, and we'd drive through the Rockies, and we'd usually end up in a resort town like Penticton or Kelowna in the Okanagan Valley, these places with these lakeside motels with names like the Bel Air or the Sea Breeze. And we'd stay there, and it would be trips every day to the lake to swim with our inflatable water wings and rafts, and pizza for dinner, and everything you'd want as a kid. Mini golf whenever you want. So that was what you wanted as a kid. You got comic books, you got Hardy Boy novels, you've got you got stops at the roadside orchards for peaches and cherries that just were picked that morning, and it's sticky and it's sweet, and it's all the best things about being a kid. For me, my favorite part was riding through the Rocky Mountains. When you go up in Calgary, we were in the Northwest, and you could always see the mountains on the horizon. But going into the mountains, that was a summer thing. We would have our trip through the Rockies, and we'd just go winding, and when I moved out here, I would hear tales of like, we're going skiing on Blue Mountain. That's not a mountain. A mountain is something epic and awesome, and you can barely see the sky when you're at the bottom of one. It's just one of my favorite things. And when I was a kid, if you're lucky, you'd see a train go through one of the tunnels like it was the world's biggest train set. Over the years, we had souvenirs from all these trips, and through moves and purging, they all fall away until what's left right now is some photos and this one newspaper clipping my dad kept. And it's the only souvenir I've known him to keep. It's from our last vacation as a family. So I was about 8 years old, and we were staying in Penticton, and that morning was when we were driving back to Calgary. So we pile into the car, and we leave early, and we hit McDonald's for breakfast, because that's a treat on vacation. And I'm not sure, we were probably driving about 4 hours, I think around Revelstoke. We were definitely in the mountains. And traffic just slows to a crawl and stops because there's a traffic accident way down the road at one of the bridges. And the thing about driving through the mountains is you don't have anywhere else to go. There's barely a shoulder there. But, so if it stops, you're just stopped. You got nowhere to go. So we're stopped in traffic. And my dad was the first one to notice it. About 5 car lengths up ahead, a couple of rocks start falling down the mountainside. And then a couple more. And then dirt just starts sliding. It's like the wall disintegrates off the mountain and into the road. And it wasn't a huge one, fortunately, but it was enough it was about 2 feet, and it just blocked the whole road. And so we were stuck there basically until it could get cleared out. So my brother and I are in the back seat, and we're passing time with like comic books or just punching each other in the arm. And my mom and dad go out to stretch their legs. And as they're walking around and they're talking to people, that's when word comes down. There was a worse rock slide about 30 cars back. It was a bigger one, it was a worse one, and somebody died. What happened was this woman, they were stopped in traffic just like we were, about 30 car lengths back. And this woman got out of her car to go check the kids in the trailer because they're riding in the trailer that they're towing. And that's when the side of the mountain came down and got her. And it was just horrible to hear. And the kids were safe. They were brought out of the trailer, and they were brought up further up the convoy to get them away from that scene, clearly. And I never saw them, but I felt for them. Eventually, our smaller landslide at the front was cleared away, and we were able to drive and leave all that disaster and loss behind. That was the last vacation we took as a family. That following December, we were all on the bed watching the Santa Claus parade in Calgary. And that's why my dad decided to bring up the topic. So how'd you feel if we moved to Toronto, but your mom would stay here? There was a lot of crying. Our family's not great at breaking news, I don't think. So yeah, that's how I found out my parents were separating. And We'd be moving to Toronto because that was in our best interest because Dad had the full-time job, and he was going to raise me and my brother, and my mom would stay behind in Calgary and make a life for herself. And we asked, why this happened, because I don't know about other 8-year-olds. I don't have a lot of emotional intuity about what's going on in the house. There wasn't any fighting in front of us. It wasn't dramatic. There was no affair or screaming. It was just things fell apart, and we asked, why is Mom and Dad getting a divorce? And you get the answer back, well, we're not in love anymore. So that was that, and we moved out to Toronto. And so a couple years later, I'm going through some old photo albums I haven't looked in a while, and there's a newspaper clipping in there. And it's a newspaper clipping my dad had kept, reporting on that landslide and that lady who died, the kids' moms who died. And it was odd because he doesn't keep anything. So I asked him, why do you still have that newspaper clipping? Because we didn't know her, we weren't intimately acquainted. And he said, well, that it's always stuck in my mind. What if we had left a little later that morning? And what if we were like 30 car lengths back? What if that had been us? What would have happened? Life is sudden and random, and comes out at you out of nowhere. And that's why he's always kept it, to kind of remind him that things happen out of nowhere that you can't plan for. Over the years, I've kind of incorporated that into my own version of the narrative about my parents' divorce, that this thing happened and they realized that life is short and you got to make yourself happy, and if you're not happy, you got to move on. You got to make a new life for yourself. It makes as much sense to me as anything, as much sense as we just don't love each other anymore. Thanks.